The Grand Line isn't just a more dangerous sea, it's where the Straw Hats are truly tested, and Little Garden is the very first checkpoint where that test begins. This island, where dinosaurs, giants, honor, and betrayal collide, may become the first major threshold where Netflix completely changes the tone of One Piece Season 2. In this video, we're going to break down why Little Garden is so critical, how Netflix should handle this arc, and what it truly represents for the Straw Hats. If you enjoy this type of analysis, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because the Grand Line journey is only just beginning. Let's begin. Little Garden is the arc where Netflix's One Piece Season 2 can show viewers the true face of the Grand Line for the very first time. Reverse Mountain and Whiskey Peak were episodes that merely told us this sea was dangerous. Little Garden is where you actually feel it. The idea that a log pose can remain locked on a single island not for hours, but for months or even years, powerfully illustrates just how unpredictable the Grand Line truly is. If Netflix handles this island correctly, the audience will clearly understand for the first time that the Straw Hats are no longer on ordinary adventures. They've entered a world where survival requires patience, endurance, and true crew coordination. The island's atmosphere is practically a live-action showcase. Massive plants, prehistoric creatures, fog-covered swamps, and a natural order where you can become prey at any moment. Transform Little Garden into a full prehistoric survival island. Netflix should present Little Garden not merely as an exotic location, but as an active threat because this island feels like a living enemy. Scenes of the Straw Hats moving through dinosaurs must make viewers feel that even nature itself is now a rival on the Grand Line. The emotional and thematic heart of the arc is Dorry and Brogy. Netflix must portray not just two giant warriors, but an entire way of life built on honor and tradition. Their duel that has lasted for years is far more than a show of strength. It's a matter of promise, pride, and the very soul of Elbaf culture. Luffy's admiration for these giants strengthens his philosophy of respecting true strength, while for Usopp, this encounter becomes the first major break from childish fantasy into a real, attainable dream of becoming a brave warrior. Little Garden is also the Straw Hats' first true separation and survival trial. When the crew scatters in different directions, each member learns just how merciless the Grand Line truly is. Luffy fighting dinosaurs may look comedic on the surface, but it clearly demonstrates the island's danger level. Zoro and Sanji's rivalry here evolves from playful bickering into real survival instinct. Usopp, meanwhile, confronts his fears as he listens to the giant stories and begins clinging more tightly to the belief that one day, I will be fearless like this. Netflix's true tonal breaking point in this arc should be the arrival of Baroque Works. At that moment, Little Garden transforms from a festive adventure into a deadly chessboard. When Crocodile's organization tries to turn the giants' honorable duel into a scheme, the Straw Hats realize they're now fighting not just for themselves, but for the honor of others. This shift clearly defines Luffy's character and the crew's morale line for the audience. With Baroque Works' arrival, it becomes clear how Netflix can use this arc as a true tone breaker. Mr. 3 and his crew become the first serious example that Grand Line adventures are no longer only about battling nature, they're now about facing cunning, manipulative enemies. Little Garden becomes a "the game is over" sign for the Straw Hats. From now on, their opponents are not just brute force threats, but schemers who plan, manipulate, and sabotage. Mr. 3's wax-based powers open up incredible visual potential for live action. Wax traps, cuffs, massive walls, and giant statues can create highly cinematic sequences where Netflix blends CGI with practical effects. His power must also function as psychological pressure, not just physical danger, because Mr. 3 doesn't merely want to defeat the Straw Hats, he wants to humiliate them, belittle them, and dominate them. This makes him a perfect candidate to become one of Season 2's most disturbing and memorable villains. Miss Goldenweek's strange ability to manipulate people through colors and emotions is a golden opportunity for Netflix to build a dark, unsettling psychological atmosphere. This power shows that in the Grand Line, danger doesn't always come from raw muscle. It teaches the Straw Hats a new lesson. Not every enemy is beaten with punches, some target your decisions, your fears, and your weaknesses. One of the harshest moments of the arc is Dorry being taken out through sabotage. If Netflix handles this correctly, it can become a true shock moment for the audience. The Giants' belief in fair combat being corrupted by trickery is the thematic peak of Little Garden. Because here, it's not about winning or losing, it's about fighting with honor. Dorry's wounded pride, Brogy's inner conflict, and the fracture of trust between the two giants make it perfectly clear why the Straw Hats take this matter so personally. Luffy's rage at this point is one of the most important moments Netflix can use to emphasize his moral compass. For Luffy, there is no such thing as winning through cheating. So the battle at Little Garden isn't just a fight, it's about correcting something that is fundamentally wrong. These scenes have the power to emotionally show viewers why Luffy isn't an ordinary pirate and why people begin to follow him. Little Garden's most critical, dramatic turning point arrives when Nami suddenly falls ill. If Netflix builds this moment properly, it can instantly shift the tone of the entire season. Just minutes after fighting dinosaurs and Baroque Works agents, the crew suddenly finds themselves in a time-critical survival story. Nami's rising fever and worsening condition teach the Straw Hats that on the Grand Line, even waiting can be deadly. This moment transforms Little Garden from a mere adventure stop into the gateway for the Drum Island journey that will shape the entire season. From Netflix's perspective, Nami's illness is a major opportunity to show her as physically and emotionally vulnerable for the first time. The audience sees that Nami isn't just a brilliant navigator, she's also someone who needs protection. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji's concern for Nami becomes the first powerful moment where the Straw Hats truly feel like a real family rather than just a pirate crew. This emotional bond gives Little Garden even greater weight. Scenes where Mr. Three corners the crew with his wax traps are prime territory for high-tension sequences. Trapped between wax walls, facing a power that can even restrain giants, the Straw Hats feel truly helpless for the first time. Netflix must build a visual language that makes the wax heavy, physical, and threatening, turning Mr. Three's power from something comedic into a genuine nightmare. One of the arc's most beautiful turnarounds is when Usopp's courage is tested. Despite being small among giants, Usopp refuses to back down and plays a critical role in saving the crew. Little Garden becomes the first major stop where Usopp proves he's not just a loud, exaggerated character, but a true Straw Hat who steps up when it matters. Netflix can use these moments to lay the strongest foundation for his long-term character growth. Little Garden also proves that Sanji is not just a fighter, but a strategic thinker. His side maneuvers, communication games, and distraction tactics against Baroque Works play a key role in the crew's survival. Presenting Sanji as the smart one in this arc would strongly prepare the ground for his future roles. The finale of Little Garden comes as Baroque Works' plans collapse and the island's balance is restored. When Mr. Three's wax traps shatter and the agents are neutralized, Little Garden ceases to be a hunting ground and returns to its rightful owners, Dorry and Brogy. If Netflix structures these scenes well, the Giants' liberation can feel like a mythological awakening. This becomes the first major moment where the Straw Hats are seen not just as fighters, but as a force that restores justice. Dorry and Brogy's respect for the Straw Hats is the emotional reward of the arc. Their refusal to forgive those who tainted their honor and their show of strength to help the crew highlight how valuable friendship and promises are on the Grand Line. These scenes deepen Usopp's admiration and plant the first seeds of his future bond with Elbaf. With long shots and epic music, Netflix can turn Little Garden into an unforgettable legend. Because of Nami's condition, the Straw Hats are forced to leave the island urgently and redirect their course to Drum Island. This transition becomes a critical narrative bridge for Netflix's seasonal storytelling. Little Garden begins like an adventure but ends as an emergency. This makes the audience feel just how vital Drum Island will be before they even arrive. The most important feeling Little Garden leaves behind is this: not every Grand Line adventure is fun. Sometimes you're forced to do what's right, race against time, and save someone's life. In this arc, the Straw Hats become more than pirates chasing their dreams. They become a crew that touches other people's destinations. Little Garden isn't just an island. It's the first moment where the Straw Hats realize the game is over. The honor-driven battles, the race against time that begins with Nami's illness, and the true face of Baroque Works mark the first major turning point that defines Season 2's fate. Do you think Netflix can handle this arc dark, epic, and emotional enough? Share your thoughts in the comments, don't forget to like the video, and subscribe for more One Piece content because the next stop will be even more dangerous.